American representative to present the Japanese embassy. Admiral Tatna and the officers of the USS Powhatan. For more on this story, we interviewed Palace spokesperson Yuya Takahashi.
The Honolulu Rifles arrived at the palace, forming a line on each side of the steps. A company of Hawaiian infantry was stationed at the gateway. The king, accompanied by his ministers and nobles, were dressed in full uniform. Soon after, 7 carriages arrived with the officer of the USS Powhatan. They were conducted by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Chamberlain to the reception room and presented to the king individually. At 2 o'clock, 2 carriages belonging to the king returned, bringing the Japanese ambassadors and officer. They were escorted by aides to the king, and Prince rode on horseback as a guard of honor. Several officers of the Powhatan, Admiral Tatana and Hawaiian Minister of Foreign Affairs Wiley, accompanied the ambassadors. They were led into the waiting room. Individually, the ambassadors were presented to Kamehameha IV. As they entered the room, each bowed low 3 times according to Japanese tradition. His Majesty Kamehameha IV addressed them as follows.
I feel very much pleased to welcome you to my kingdom, and it affords me great pleasure that circumstances have favored me, through the kind permission of the United States Commissioner and the gentlemen in whose charge you as present are, to receive you as ambassadors of the great Emperor of Japan, while on your way to the friendly government of the United States of America, a nation to which my people are so much indebted. I shall feel much gratified if your visit to these islands is agreeable to you, and hope that when you return to Japan, you will express to your sovereign the friendly meeting which I have had the honor of having with you, and the high esteem I entertain for His Majesty and his people.
In response, the Japanese ambassador expressed thanks for the courtesies they received from Kamehameha IV and the people of Honolulu. Afterward, Queen Emma made her appearance in the audience hall, attended by 20 ladies in waiting. The same ceremonies were performed in her court. The ambassadors departed the palace. They were invited to attend a large ball that evening but declined the invitation, though some of the subordinate officers of the delegation attended. I'm Yuya Takahashi reporting from the palace grounds. Back to Mariko and Kent at the news desk.
Thank you, Yuria, for the report. In 1841, at the age of 14, this Japanese man's fishing vessel was wrecked. He was rescued by a U.S. whaler and brought to America, becoming the first Japanese to set foot on American soil. He became the first Japanese student to receive an American elementary and intermediate education as well as a high school education in English, mathematics, navigation and shipbuilding, history and geography. He also acted as first mate on a whaling ship's 14-month journey around the world.
The citizens of Fairhaven and New Bedford, Massachusetts welcomed Nakahama Manjiro, also known as John Manjiro. Eventually, he came to Hawaii before returning to Japan. Joining us today from the deck of the Kairin Maru on its voyage to San Francisco is John Manjiro. Thank you for joining us on Hawaii Tokai News. Could you explain to our audience your position with the Japanese embassy?
Before my appointment as a translator for the embassy on the Kairin Maru, I served as an interpreter and translator for the shogunate. After the arrival of the Perry Black ships. Thus, I didn't have direct contact with the American at the time. I participated in negotiating the convention of the Kanagawa. I was appointed to serve as instructor and translator on board Kanrinma. Previously, I had traveled throughout Japan providing instruction in shipbuildings and navigation. I also translated the 20 volumes U.S. Navigation Science, and I brought with me from the U.S. I taught Nobel Science to Katsukaishu, the
The Powhatan stopped in Hawaii, but the Kanrin continued to non-stop to San Francisco. Can you explain why?
Both ships encountered turbulent seas after leaving Japanese waters. During the typhoon, Captain Katsu, Admiral Kimura, and much of the crew flew ill. Because of the limited naval training of the officer and crew of the Kanrin Maru, the Japanese requested that American naval officers be assigned to the ship before departing Japan. Commodore Joshua Tetnell, commander of the United States East India Salon, selected Lieutenant John Master Brock. We had many long talks on the voyage, and I took charge. The Powhatan was very hard hit by the typhoon and in need to repairs, so it was decided it should change course for Hawaii. The Japanese ambassador and staff boarded the Powhatan.
What happened next?
After a voyage out of Japan of 37 days, Kanrin Maru dropped anchor in San Francisco Harbor. The Powhatan arrived 12 days later. In a letter to U.S. Navy Secretary Isaac Horsey, Lieutenant Brooke described the difficulties encountered during the voyage and praised me for my singular ability, also referring to me as 33, one of the most remarkable men and ever saw. He is very communicative, and I am satisfied that he has had more to do with the opening of Japan than any man living.
Thank you for joining our special report, Nakahama Manjiro.
The people of Honolulu embraced the arrival of the Japanese embassy and the American crew of the USS Powhatan with wonderful aloha spirit. Honolulu City reporter Ayana Aoshima joins us now with the reaction from the city's people. Ayana, welcome.
Thank you, Marco and Kento. The Japanese embassy and subordinate officials have been busy enjoying Hawaii's mild weather and learning as much as they can before departing for the United States. On the evening of the royal reception at Iolani Palace, a large ball was given at the home of Dr. Giroux, an American naval surgeon. Both Kamehameha IV and Queen Emma were guests, so the ambassadors declined the invitation. Some of the subordinate officers of the delegation attended. Some attending the ball told this reporter that one of the Japanese who went by the name Tommy admired the women at the ball and spoke to them at length. During the dancing, Tommy was seated behind one woman who was dancing and continued to stand for a long time. He thought that she might be tired and perhaps wanted to sit down. He tugged on the woman's dress to attract her attention. Then he asked her to sit down. He seemed surprised when she declined. Many of the other Japanese seemed very interested in their first experience observing American men and women interact with each other. In the meantime, lower officials and their attendants roamed the streets of Honolulu, frequently entering stores to inspect unfamiliar products. They occasionally purchased small items. The people of